Hi everyone, welcome to Iron Element. This is Mike again, and I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about progressive overload and explain what it is. I want to explain what it is, how you can leverage it, and why it actually works and what's the purpose of it. To talk about what progressive overload is, it sounds pretty simple, but it comes in many different forms. So in the simplest idea, progressive overload is you're overloading the weight over time progressively in order to improve your results and get the results that you need. Now there's many ways that can be done, but I want to explain why you need progressive overload first. And the idea is you have to keep in mind the body doesn't want to grow muscle, okay? The body wants to stay as is. It wants to use the least amount of energy to keep the body alive. That's the role, is to keep itself alive. It's not to look big and grow muscle, and it just wants to be alive. So in order to trigger the muscle growth that you want, you have to force it to adapt to stimulation, okay? And the way you do this, of course, we're lifting weights. This is what we're doing. That's going to force the muscle to adapt. But you can't just lift any amount of weight for any time. You have to be planned, and you have to be very strategic, and you have to overload the muscle consistently to force it to adapt. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're lifting 50 pounds. Doesn't matter what the exercise is. Let's say you're lifting 50 pounds, and the Forge series that I have is targeting 8 to 10 repetitions, okay? So if you're lifting 50 pounds and you hit 10 repetitions, there's a term you need to understand called RIR, or reps in reserve. And if you find you hit the 10 repetitions and you probably have 1 or 2 good reps in reserve, meaning you still got 2 reps in the tank and you could bang out 2 more, then you know that that's a good sign that you can raise the weight the next workout. So what you would do is you would finish your workout and you would write down the next week that you can go up to the next level. Maybe you add 5 pounds on the barbell, maybe you grab the next set of dumbbells, whatever that progression is. So that's kind of the idea of progressive overload. So when you overload, your body says, I need to build more muscle to handle this kind of weight. So your body builds a little more muscle that time to add a little weight, but it's microscopic, so you don't actually see it. But you build that little bit of muscle, but if you only stay with that same weight, your body will only build enough muscle to just lift that weight. That's why you have to add more weight over time, and now your body sees it as new stimulation, and now it needs to adapt to that new weight. So it has to, guess what, grow more muscle. Pretty simple stuff. In theory, when you think about it, you're just adding weight and it builds muscle. You're adding more weight, it builds more muscle. And that's the correlation there. There are other ways to add overload over time. You can shorten the rest rate. You can increase the sets or reps, but we're not going to do any of that. All I want you to do is, since you're already recording your weight, I want you to overload the weight over time. That's all you have to do, week over week. Focus on where you can go up. So the idea is not, you don't have to add weight every week on every exercise, on every single set. That's not the goal. The goal here is to pick a few areas where you found you could go up that week, and you're going to add that weight at that time. So let's go back to the example of lifting 50 pounds. Let's say you lifted 50 pounds and you have 2 reps in the tank. You know, next week I'm going to go to 55 pounds. But let's say next week you get to 55 pounds and you can only do 8. Well, it's good because you're in that range that we want to target. But then on your second set, you know that you're probably not going to be able to get 8. So your second set, you might back it back down to 50 pounds. Now you get your 8 to 10. And your third set, the same thing. But the next week, you might do 55 again, and you might hit 9 or 10. And you say, I could probably get 8 to 10 in my second set. So your second set, you would stay with that 55, maybe you get 8, and then in your third set, you might have to back it back down to 50 pounds, like original. But as long as there's an area of progression throughout your workout, and you're constantly picking an area to progress, that's really all that matters. Is you don't have to do it on every single set every time. And it's not going to be a linear graph going up. It's not like that. It's going to be like this, like this, like this. But the overall general trend should be trending in the right direction. Some weeks you're not going to feel it. You're going to be weaker. You're just not going to have it. You're going to have to just back down or barely get through. Other weeks you're going to feel really strong. It depends on your nutrition, your sleep, all these things. And I'm going to go through that in my nutrition video as well. So that's progressive overload in a nutshell. If you have any questions or comments, put them at the bottom. I'll be happy to help you out. But this should get you going, and that's the key fundamental you have to do. Track your workout, follow it, and constantly progress in the weight. And before you know it, you'll be lifting real heavy weight. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Go get them.